Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your pain, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome into another episode of Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I am here with Robbie. What's up, dude?
We are back, baby, and we got an exciting show for you guys today.
Exciting show, exciting guest, and I don't want to take up too much time, so I'm really just going to jump right into it. So our guest today went to Southeast Missouri State University, where he was a force on the defensive line, especially his junior and senior year. In his senior year, Edgar was named first-team All-American by the Associated Press and second-team All-American by the Sports Network after leading the NCAA Division I AA with 12 sacks. Edgar went undrafted in the 2007 draft, but was shortly signed to the Baltimore Ravens for roughly a week and a half after the draft. He spent his first season there as the outside linebacker, but made his transition to tight end the following year, a position where he was comfortable with as he dominated as a receiving tight end in high school, played defensive end and tight end in high school. Edgar spent 5 seasons with the Ravens playing both outside linebacker and tight end and contributing on special teams, and then spent a year with Chiefs in 2012 and Cowboys in 2013. He even had a special stint, training camp stint with our beloved Cleveland Browns in 2014.
Let's go.
He announced his retirement in February of 2015 and become a sought-after public speaker. He now runs a public speaking and consulting firm known as the Lit Code. This company focuses on helping others realize their full potential. Additionally, he and his colleague, also cousin, Courtney Anderson, run a podcast called the Lit Code Podcast that focuses on the ebbs and flows of life. Lastly, he is one of 5 owners of Wooby's Shoes, known as the first veteran-owned shoe company. Please welcome to our show, Edgar Jones. What's up, man?
Oh, thank you. That was a great... That was the best intro I've ever heard.
I told you, you hold a pre-show, you hold a special place in our heart, and I wanted to make sure that was in the intro.
We had to bring it for you, Edgar.
Dude, y'all brought it all the way. Jeez. Man, y'all brought it all the way. So who came up with this intro video? I have to hear about this. Please. So, I know y'all got questions, but I got a question now. Who did that?
I said to them, I'm a huge Boy Meets World fan and kind of the 90s sitcom in general. And it went really well with, our kind of our dad bod, our look. And so I said, I need everybody to think of their most sitcom-y videos, and then everybody did their own things, right? And kind of planned out their own sitcom videos together. We had somebody sing Brian and Cody, who are not on the episode with us, created the lyrics for the song, and we paid somebody on Fiverr to sing it for us. So
really,
yeah,
I like that, man. I love it.
I will give Mario the credit for coming up with the idea, though. It was mostly his brain work of putting that sucker together. But it was, it was fun to do. It was fun.
Edgar, I think one of the things you said pre-show was that your cousin Courtney, he's always kind of a thinker, always kind of the idea approach. I feel like sometimes my brain runs that way too, and I'm just always shooting stuff towards Rob, like, should we do this, or is this stupid, or something like that.
Hey, at least you're asking questions. Sometimes
He asks a lot of questions, Edgar. Let me tell you, dude.
Hey, that's important, man, to ask a lot of questions, and then too, the quality of the questions is definitely important. The quality of the questions. I think about some quality questions that my coach would ask me when I played, so, but curiosity is important, man. It's a thing that's
Yeah.
important to personal growth,
Well, and that's, I mean, mainly why we have you on here, because we're curious about you. We're curious about your career. We're curious about all of the things that you've done on the field, off the field. So I'm going to just transition us into that. We're
Yeah.
interested to learn a little bit about your journey and what you're doing now. As I mentioned in the intro, you're running a podcast and a couple companies. So starting that off, jumping back to the NFL, how was your NFL experience?
Man, it was a great experience with a lot of life lessons and a lot of hard work. Thank you guys again for the introduction. But I was undrafted off a $250 sign-up bonus.
Okay.
Like F-250. Like not
Mhm.
like Ford F-250. Not like 250 something.
250. Yeah.
Like that F-250, so I came in very, the last guy to get in the league, right? I always say, going to the NFL is like going to your favorite restaurant, but it's the only restaurant in the world and it's always at capacity, right? Well, the NFL is always at capacity. So one guy comes in, one guy comes out. I was like one of the last guys to get in, so but I'm grateful for it. I learned a lot of lessons. I was fortunate enough to be at a stellar team, the Ravens, man, just how they do everything top to bottom till this day. But it was an awesome experience. It was a lot of hard work, a lot of just day in and day out of just fighting for my job, especially an undrafted guy. It's you're constantly on that roster of potentially being cut. But when I sit back and I reflect on it, I would not have it any other way.
Yeah, Edgar, man. And you kind of touched on it. You had a long, awesome career with the Baltimore Ravens, and you played with some absolute legends of the game. Ray Lewis, Ed Reed, Bart Scott, Willis McGahee, Terrell Suggs, Haloti Ngata, the late, great Steve McNair, Joe Flacco, Lorenzo Neal, and Quan Bolden. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. How did these guys elevate you, not only on the field, but how did they elevate you in your personal growth as a man and growing into, I mean, you went in there super young and you came out, a man. Like, how did they help you along that path?
Oh man, that's a lot of great athletes. But back to your question, how they lived, not what they talked about. The best message spoken is the one you live. So when I got a chance to get in that locker room, how those players, those veterans, operated not just on the field, but Mario, off the field, right? How they took care of their bodies, just how they were in the community when it came to how they treated people. Me coming in undrafted, right? I came in the back door number 64 on as an outside linebacker. That number sucks as an outside linebacker. But they still, they still, welcome me with arms wide open. And one of the lessons I learned from being around individuals that you guys mentioned was, first, before you talk about it, live the message.
Yeah.
Don't go talk about it if you're not living it out, right? And the other thing is everybody has a part. Everybody plays a part, right? Everybody's important. The hand don't say to the mouth that I don't need you, right? So they're both needed. And the Ravens, in their culture, bodied the mindset that everybody was important. And also there's this saying in Baltimore that says, play like a Raven. That still lives with me till this day. And what it means is to play by a set of values: humility, strength, compassion. And there's a list of just those values, but you only play so much on the field.
Yeah.
I mean, in that week, we probably do about 15, 16, 17 hours of practice. But those guys not only play like a Raven by those values, but they live like Ravens off the field. So I watched them do that, not just in the locker room, but in the community with their families, kids. So it was, I learned a lot from them.
Well, I mean, you said so many things there, but one of the things that obviously shows you taking the time to do this and come in and hang out with us. You're still doing that, what they did for you. You know, you're still giving back. You're still making sure to look out for other people. So I know I'm harping on that, but obviously those values still hold strong. And the other thing that you said, which was play like a Raven. You have a great story on TikTok right now. It was actually when we first spoke on the phone, we talked about it. And it was the Jalen Parmalee story that you shared on your Instagram, TikTok. It was such a genuine message. And it's so very true that you don't really know when you're going to have a breakthrough. Do you mind recapping that story for our viewers live if they didn't get a chance to see it?
Yeah. Jalen Parmalee, man. We called him AKA Parmesan cheese. But awesome. solid guy, great character, cut up like coleslaw, shredded like lettuce. This dude had an 8-pack. He was in shape. I mean, just an all-around athlete, right? Well, at that time, that's when it was, Willis McGahee, Ray Rice, LeRon McClain. Our running backs were stacked, right? Mm-hmm. So in the last preseason game, and Jalen's in on offense, and they're on the 1-yard line. So the quarterback gets the handoff from the center. He drops back and he throws the football. Well, the safety picks it off and he takes off running. And this guy's about to score a 100-yard touchdown, right? And we're watching this guy get closer and closer and closer to the end zone. And out of nowhere, Parmesan cheese, Jalen Parmalee chases this guy down and tackles him on the 1-yard line. Dude, Jalen gets up. He out of breath. He tired. I'm out of breath and I'm tired. I'm on the sideline. And fast forward, we get to the next day and we're watching the cut-up film, right? And Coach Harbaugh, man, he pulls it up. He says, Jalen, this is what it means to play like a Raven. Jalen, this is what it means to give hard, to have the hard work, right? And he said, based off you making this play, you have now made the team.
That's crazy.
Awesome.
Dude, I don't know where Jalen was on the totem pole, but I felt like he was pretty low. He's probably next to me. and I'm for certain that when that ball got picked off, there was a lot of things probably going through Jalen's head in that fraction of a second, right? But he decided to finish. He decided to push through. And what I have found in my life, and I'm pretty sure if we all can kind of sit back and reflect and just pull back from the forest and we can see the trees a little bit, there's been times where, man, we're looking for this breakthrough. We're looking for whatever this is. We started up, or we've been given this extra effort, and we feel like I'm not seeing it yet, right? And then we want to give up, but then think about you giving that extra effort, right? And then it breaks through like you wanted to. So for me, when I made that video, just encouraging people to continue to keep pushing, to continue to give that effort, because it'll work itself out, and you just never know how it will happen. And a lot of times it won't happen the way you think it will. Mm-hmm. Parmesan didn't think he was gonna make the team off that. Jalen. So shout out to Jalen Parmalee, man, great guy.
Man, that is an unbelievable story, and just kind of it just resonates, so much, where you're one play away from changing your life, right? You're one moment away from making an impactful move to grow, to become somebody better. And that was his play, man. That's the one play that solidified him as a Baltimore Raven, and that is an unbelievable story. Speaking of that, now that's your training camp days and stuff like that. Do you have any other great, maybe funny, or just something that really resonates with you from your time as a Baltimore Raven? Anything that kind of comes to your mind right off the bat?
Yeah, no, I do. A story about with Coach Harbaugh, my second year, which was his first year coming on the team. And, Harbaugh was a special teams coach for Philadelphia under Andy Reid. So he came on as a head coach, and he was coming into a team where, the year before we had a suck record. We were horrible, with Brian Billick. And I thought Brian was a great coach as well. But anyway, excuse me. My girlfriend at the time, her dad had stage 4 cancer, right? This is a week into training camp. He had stage 4 cancer. And, I'm trying to be there for her, and she's all the way in California, right? But I'm trying to make sure I'm taking care of business with training camp and practice. So one day I'm walking on the field, and Coach Harbs is walking next to me, and he says, "Hey, how you doing?" I was like, I'm not good. And he was like, what's going on? So I told him about my girlfriend and her dad having cancer, and I was like, it's not looking too good. And he pauses for a second. He says, after practice is over with, go talk to Joan, who still is with the Ravens now. Go tell her to book you a flight to go to California. And like I paused for a second. I was like, and remember, I'm 64. I'm the last guy to get through the door. I'm wondering if this is a trick or not. Like, what's the catch? And he was like, I was like, what about practice, coach? And he was like, don't worry about practice. Go take care of family. Go be next to your family. So after practice, get the flight. I go out to California. I stay out there for about 2 to 3 days. This is during training camp. So I come back to Baltimore. I'm walking back on the field. He happens to see me and he says, hey, I know that's a tough situation. Let us know if you need anything. Just get back out there and go practice. And I made the team that year, right? And for me, when I sit back and I think about that and how I apply it to my life, is that was him giving empathy to me, right? Just by being there for me, right? And offering some type of help, part of the family. And let me know that I was valued and that he cared about what was going on in my life, even in the middle of training camp. So I think about that, and just now how when I'm dealing with people, create a space for people to, that empathy for individuals. Because a lot of times I think that we tend to forget that our jobs are important, right? Your jobs that you do, but people still got life and things that they're battling and dealing with outside the football field or the boardroom.
Yeah, and I think that's the message that I have seen coming from your social medias of like, well, let's fast forward a little bit. So fast forwarding to now, you run your own successful company, you do public speaking, and you're kind of sharing these messages that you're sharing with us right now, the Lit Code. And you also have a podcast called the Lit Code Podcast. What is talking about empathy, what else would you say is a main goal and message that you're trying to spread when you come out and speak to people in these public speaking events, or even on your social media?
So when I speak, my objective is to not just to get individuals to think, because we're already thinking, but it's to be intentional about the things you're thinking about and the spark thought. I don't know if I've had a chance to explain to you guys what lit means. The L stands for illuminated. So if you look up illuminated, it's the definition is to spark, to shine light, right? The I stands for in, and the T stands for thought. So illuminated in thought is the name of our company. Before I speak, before I act, before I go do anything, it all starts in thought. So when I'm going to go speak on the podcast, we're speaking on the podcast or my Instagram, or speaking in front of a group, my objective is to get them to be intentional about their thought process and the things they're doing, and be thoughtful about how I'm carrying out in my life. And that's illuminated in thought.
That's awesome. That's awesome,
yeah, and
man.
I think just before you go here real quick, Rob, I think I just saw you saying it was a video that just popped up on my feed talking about being intentional about your actions, being intentional about your decisions, being intentional about what you're deciding on. So I mean, do you want to shed a tiny bit more light on like what you mean by that? Sorry, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, because it's the one thing you can control, right? My choices and my thought process is the one things that I could control. And I think sometimes we get so busy going through the day-to-day and just our lives, right? Our thoughts are just flowing, and we're not really thinking about, man, how am I really talking to myself right now? The way I'm talking to myself, when I go talk to Rob, like if somebody came up to Rob and talked to Rob the way I talk to myself, I would look at them and be like, you're wrong for that. Don't talk to Rob like that. Right? So why would I talk to myself like that? Right. So it's just the objective is just to get you to pause and think about it for a second, of like intentional about my thought process, and then out of my thoughts, how am I carrying out through my actions, right?
Yeah.
Of how am I first treating myself, and then how am I treating other people, and then just the personal growth side of it, because that's something else too that we can control on we can control how we are being a better version of ourselves.
Yeah, Edgar, that's
Oh,
a super important message that you are, preaching out there, dude. It's something I don't think a lot of people tend to think about, right? Like it's something, if it's not on your mind, if you're not hearing people like yourself talking about it, it just kind of goes by the wayside, and you're back in there just kind of beating yourself up over little things that might not at the end of the day matter enough.
Yeah. I mean, Rob, think about this for a second. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but think about how many things on a day-to-day basis fight for our attention.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, as soon as you open up your right eye in the morning, your brain's already firing on all cylinders. All this internal dialogue about you're not this, you're not good enough, right? Or the worries and concerns of today. And then, man, you open up that cell phone, dude, that's another, you got to be careful about all that and the things that you got to deal with, right? So if I want to work on being a better version of myself, I have to be thoughtful about what am I watching? What am I listening to, right? Who am I talking to? What is Edgar saying to himself? So, but I'm gonna stop. I don't want to keep going, man. I love this.
No, you're good, man. You're good. This is awesome. This is awesome. And you're kind of talking about it. A thing that you talk a lot about on your social medias and TikTok and stuff like that is kind of changing your mindset. Now, do you have any sort of tips or tricks that you use personally, or that you can kind of share with the viewers on how somebody can do that to impact their life for the better?
Yeah. So first, just what is it that I'm paying attention to? What's grabbing my attention, and what am I feeding myself? There's this old school movie called Little Shops of Horror with this flower, feed me, Seymour. and I hope you guys know the movie. But anyway, this guy's feeding this flower, right? And as he continues to feed this flower is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, right? And then eventually this flower is trying to eat the guy up that fed him and eat everybody up around him. And when I sit back and I think about that movie, we're constantly feeding ourselves things, right? And some of those things that we're feeding ourselves it's actually not only hurting us, but it's hurting people around us. So being thoughtful about what am I feeding myself? Okay, what am I feeding myself? What do I watch? Right? Like what the things that I'm watching, right? Whether it's on social media or the news, like is that helping me with mine? Is that helping to decrease my anxiety, or is that making me more worried about everything that's going on? You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. What music am I listening to? I mean, music's been around since the beginning of time. It started wars and ended battles, right? So like being thoughtful about the music I'm listening to, and then about, again, how I talk to myself, the things that I'm saying. And then if you are saying things to yourself in a way that's degrading, like just countering that with something that's lifting you up. I mean, there's life and death in the tongue, the power of your words, right? So your words have so much power. And then the other thing I'll say, just changing your mindset of just as much as you can, just the meditation side of it. I think meditation is huge. And I think meditation looks different for everybody. I thought it was me floating in the air like a monk, but that's not what it is. It's just being still, right? It's just taking time to be still. So maybe 5 or 10 minutes out of your day, maybe you're driving to work. Just drive in silence, man. No music. Just be still. Right? Go for a walk with no music, no headphones. Just be still. So
much to that, because I mean, when we're doing this, and I'm going to definitely speak for you here, Robbie, a little bit. It's like we're constantly heads in social media constantly, and you have to feel this to a degree with your podcast and with your company. But it's constant. Everything now is just ran so much on social media, and that's the moments where I'm like, you know what? I need to kind of take a step back here. I had a realization with one of the didn't see the Feed Me Seymour reference coming, but it makes sense. And sorry, I was reading that comment. It's just that social media and how it can drain you, and honestly spending too much time on your phone. Like I saw the realization of seeing my screen time. I think it was actually one of the guys in our group was like, "What's your screen time at?" And I was like, "Oh God, that's not good." So I definitely feel it. I did want to ask you one. Go ahead. Sorry.
Let me say this. Depending on what you do, you need social media, right? My audience is social media. So this is one tip I give the people. When I post things on social media, I delete the app off my phone.
And then come back later.
I delete it, right? So when I come back, though, here's the thing, Mario. I have to be thoughtful about why am I coming back. So when I get ready to go back into the app store and download Instagram, whatever that social media platform, I have to ask myself the question, Edgar, are you going on just to scroll, or are you going on to post, or are you going on to comment to someone said? Yeah. And if it's not in those lines, right, then if it's scrolling, I don't need to scroll. And the other thing I'll say to people is when we talk about, the things I talk about when it comes to what do you listen to and what do you watch, if anytime you watch or listen to something or you get on social media and you feel less than when you get off, then that's probably something that's not good for you.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
it's a really good, it's a strong point, and it's the truth, and it's become a kind of, I don't want to say it's an epidemic in society, but I mean, it's getting bad. I did have one last question before we let you go, because it's obviously a super important question to us. Do you play fantasy football?
I actually don't.
No.
No, man. Don't play fantasy football, but for my you guys and Tiff's always talk to me about playing fantasy football. Shout out to Tiff. Appreciate you, Tiff.
Shout out to Tiff. She is the one that got us together, so she is again, she's one of our favorites.
And Edgar, I don't think that's uncommon for players. Honestly, I would say probably something like 80% of all players really don't like fantasy football. And it's because of how fans approach afterwards and the negative that comes when like somebody's mad. Just people being ridiculous have ruined it for the rest of us that love the sport and love watching you guys and love rooting for people that maybe we wouldn't necessarily, like watch. Like we're born and raised in Cleveland, so we obviously have always paid attention to Cleveland. But once fantasy football, it kind of opens up that world, and you get to explore all these new players and stuff. So
yeah. Well, maybe you guys can school me on some fantasy football. I'm always open to learning, and maybe one day I will start to get involved with fantasy football. I don't know.
Anytime you want.
There's
anytime
one of your former teammates. I believe he was there in 2013. I did not. I'm almost positive. Des Bryant just recently started getting into the field a lot more. So
Des a passionate guy, man. I love Des. Great guy.
Yeah. So, but again, Edgar, we can't thank you enough for being on here, taking the time out of your day. Giving us all the wisdom you have, telling us about football, man. We really do appreciate it.
Hey, I appreciate you guys for having me on. Let me know whenever y'all want me to come back. I look forward to it.
Monday, Wednesday, Thursday. No, I'm just kidding.
He's a new dad bod member, is what.
He's a part of the crew now.
Officially in the dad bod.
I'm a part of the crew, man. Y'all ever get a T-shirt, a hat, or anything? Send your boy one, man. Send me one.
We absolutely will. We're getting there, not quite there, but we have started playing around with it. So we absolutely will get one out for you. It would be our thank you to you.
All right, man. Well, appreciate you guys. Thank y'all.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Edgar.
All right, later.
Peace. Great dude.
I mean, come on. It doesn't get better than that.
It doesn't. It really doesn't, man. I enjoyed that so much. We really don't have anything else planned for everyone. So we are going to close our show here as well. For myself, for Robbie Bobby. Peace out. We love you. Thank you for watching our episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please make sure you like and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
If you aren't already following us on Twitter, check us out at DadBodFS.
We'll be posting all of our best clips and videos to all of our social media, TikTok, Instagram, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. You can find us on there at DadBod Fantasy Squad.
Lastly, if you'd rather just listen, we make sure we post our audio of each episode on all the major streaming platforms. Stick with us all season long so together we can count our trophies and not our calories.